Welcome to the Chaos Sector. In the last episode, there were a few comments regarding the Idaho murders investigation. I guess we can call it a bit of fact-checking by our audience. No problem, always room for improvement. Let's once again examine the audience and their take. Quote, I get you're trying to get clicks, but you cannot possibly believe all this stuff. Now the 911 thing is a little confusing. But I'm sure Ellie has interviewed these people, and DM and BF. But some stuff does seem fishy, but don't make stuff worse than it is. Unquote. Clicks? Yes, sure, that's not gonna work here. Are you claiming that you don't believe what was stated in those phone calls? How do you know if they're lying? Were you there? You do realize it's not just that mother, there is also a fellow student, whose voice was altered to protect his identity. Everything that was stated, we only examine and draw.
Hold on, sorry for the interruption, but I've dealt with this before. There is no need to explain anything, because our episode broke everything down well enough. We examined the phone calls, which provided key information, and we gave our thoughts on it. Either you agree or disagree, but there is no need to address it, I've learned from experience.
Well, silly me, I almost fell for it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's to pull you away from the investigation. You did a great job breaking everything down, which presented a theory that they simply don't want to accept as a possibility. Let me give my take on those phone calls. The mother, who is identified as Kim, is the mother of a student at Washington State University. Yeah, everyone who flooded social media posts, digging into those platforms, knew of this person. I didn't, because she never hit the news with her statements. What that audience member is attempting to do is damage control. Here's why. If we apply Kim's claims about what happened that night, we have multiple people at the home. Remember, she essentially paired the creeper with the people there to buy drugs. Which means they were there at the same time. Also remember, this is what someone inside the home is claiming, that there were multiple people there. Mortensen never distinguished a difference in time of the individuals there to buy drugs and the creeper. Wouldn't she distinguish this? For example, who was there that night? There were students here to buy drugs. What time did they arrive? I would say about 3 a.m., it was around that time I think. You said some creep was there as well, when did you see them? It was like 4 something, some guy in all black walked past me and left out the sliding doors. If she had distinguished a difference in time of both parties' presence, we can assume someone had come later that night to commit the murders. But, because there wasn't a distinction, and it appears they were all there together, it literally erases Mortensen's claim of spotting the so-called creeper. Do you understand? And this is why that audience member, among others, attempt to discredit that mother, because she is questioning what truly happened. She is not just wailing away on Kohberger, she is also looking into oddities from the college students. If the audience member claims she is lying, then she is lying on her daughter's friend, her daughter's friend's boyfriend, and ultimately lying on the person who told them from that home. Does her daughter attend Washington State? Does her daughter know individuals associated with those housemates? If you say yes, then you are suggesting that she crafted an entire chain of events surrounding the deaths of 4 students. See how I broke that all down? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If someone comes out and speaks about the case, they just want attention. If they stay quiet about the case, then they're cowards. What do you think? Do you think it was just how she described the overall night? Or do you think she literally meant there were multiple people there, at the same time? Keep in mind, these are 2 different scenarios, and different chain of events. And we have to keep pointing out the random element of the plan if you suggest it was Kohberger. He wouldn't know when they arrived at home, because his phone pinged around 2:50 a.m. while still in Pullman. The group was already at home during this time. In this scenario, it would appear he was notified and then headed to Moscow, right? If he was stalking them, he would have already been in Moscow, at a distance even following them prior, while they were partying. Isn't this the epitome of a stalker? You have to stay close to your targets, not be in a different state, without the targets visible to you. Kohberger would follow them, specifically his main target, in Kaylee Gonzalez, right? They were at the food truck, he would be there. They leave and catch a Uber, he stealthily follows them. They arrive at home, and Kohberger prepares to attack. But wait, he spots 4 more students, crap, her friends are there as well. He drives off, waiting until he believes, when they will go to sleep. He returns, enters the home, through sliding doors, which were apparently unlocked, and, well, who is murdered first in this scenario? Well, some claim it was Kernodle and Chapin, and others claim it was Mogan and Gonzalez. Let's just go with the target first. Even the news suggests this, so let's see how this scenario pans out. Kohberger heads upstairs first, because somehow, he knew Gonzalez's bedroom was upstairs. Oh wait, they claim he had been at that location months prior, right? Of course, this is how he knew what floor she was on, as he was there months prior, observing his target. He spotted her with binoculars, watching her in the bedroom upstairs. Guess nobody notices this in the neighborhood, some guy watching a house through binoculars, yeah whatever. So, he knew where to go, and sure enough, this is where he leaves his knife sheath, with the victim he stalked. Enough, that's enough. None of that has been proven, and if there is no evidence he stalked Gonzalez, what would be his reason for being there? What motive would Kohberger have, if it weren't stalking that young lady? I'm waiting. Won't wait all day, I have an interesting take. It doesn't matter who was murdered first, the total deaths is more of a focus. 4 individuals were murdered, while 2 survived. Could it be that those specific individuals were exactly who would be murdered that night? Or, would you believe that the killer was perhaps exhausted and decided to spare the student he saw as he exited? Well, if he was exhausted, this means it wasn't so easy in murdering 4 people, right? Translation, a struggle at some point. Now once again, for some of these new audience members, where in the world were the screams in this setting? Kohberger had murdered 1, the rush continues, as he murders his second victim. Without the victims being killed in their sleep, such as slicing their throats, how do you explain no mention of screams from Mortenson's accounts? There had to be screaming, even if it were weakened screams, it would be enough to alarm Mortenson of a real-life threatening predicament for her peers. But you and I know there was screaming, the only problem here is the so-called survivor, painting a scenario of stealthful killer, cutting through his victims with such ease, like a freaking grandmaster swordsman. And what about the so-called statement of quote, "It's okay, I'm here to help you"? So he says this to one of the victims, but doesn't say anything to the witness? You know, like, quote, "I'm sorry for what I've done, but I will come back for you if I have to," unquote. If you ask me, that statement was never said. It was to create this demented mind state of the killer, acting as some sort of liberator, releasing his victims from the world's pain. Now let's rewind, back to another key issue. There was this claim that there was drug use in that home, right? Now in Ms. Kim's claim, there was a quote, shakedown. A shakedown is essentially a robbery. Now, let's basically extend this scenario into a deeper plot. We focus on the media's attempt to discredit theories about what happened, when it happened, how it happened, and why it happened. For this, we examine an article written by Rachel Sharp of The Independent. This article was posted January of this year, regarding so-called internet conspiracy theorists about the Idaho murders. It starts off with various statements from individuals who we can't truly know if they had insider information or not regarding the murders. Quote, "They were killed in a drug deal gone wrong." Unquote. Quote, "It was revenge for bullying another student, found dead months earlier." Unquote. Quote, "A disgruntled student blamed them for being kicked out of a fraternity." Unquote. Quote, "A gang of frat boys decided to carry on a fight that broke out at a party earlier that night." Unquote. Quote, "The list goes on and on." These make up only a handful of the countless rumors and conspiracy theories circulating online in the weeks after 4 University of Idaho students were found butchered to death in the small college town of Moscow. Unquote. Now to be honest, although this is considered random because it can't be all of them at once, they all have logical motives for those murders. If we were to compare these theories to the suspect who hasn't been confirmed to be stalking anyone, which side seems more logical to you? A college student, or a group of college students, seeking revenge, or a man who has no connection to the victims, and is not even from that town? Logic leans towards fellow college students, due to their various motives that drove them to such a massacre. Jealousy is another one to add into the equation, which can lead to hatred. Kohberger, once again, without the motive of stalking a young lady, would have to be personally linked to them, meaning, he was associated with the group, to even target them specifically. This doesn't mean he stalked them, it just means whatever association they would have turned sour, and it led to violence. But that would have been revealed at some point. What this article attempts to do is refute those theories as being absurd to the point a mother being interviewed on a phone call would be deemed, quote, just seeking attention. Two narratives were established in this case very quickly. The first, of course, is that Kohberger was a stalker, loner, psychopath, and sought out to murder his targets. The media pushed it so far, they didn't expect you to keep questioning the mystery behind one of the survivors' accounts. It doesn't matter what she did or didn't do, the killer is in police custody right now. The other narrative, in connection to the first, is eliminate the possibility of anyone from Moscow being directly or indirectly involved in those murders. Any theory is lumped in with the internet sleuth of, quote, conspiracy theorists. Yet, the audacity of the media to refute theories which may come from people who live in Moscow. And even from those who are associated with that group. A suspect being arrested doesn't guarantee there wasn't someone else involved. Does anyone remember when I stated I give those conspiracy theories more credibility than the authorities and the media because on some level, out of all those theories, someone has internal key information about everything? From the circumstances, from relationships, grudges, criminal activity, jealousy, timeframes, specific dates and times, phone calls, text messages, interactions, and so on. Someone, or a group of college students, know more than what we can imagine. Ms. Kim and the other male student voicing their concerns proves that with more people speaking out, the more you get closer to the truth. But those very inquiries they had would be considered random conspiracy theories by Ms. Rachel Sharp. Just because there are multiple theories doesn't mean one of them isn't actually what happened. You understand? And some of those theories are to deflect from another theory, or in this case, truth, by someone else. It is in fact a Rolodex of theories to examine. But it's not that hard to nail one of those theories to the floor and apply it to this case. The trial is approaching, and there will be an unfavorable verdict either way. This is the chaos sector.